Committee on Tuesday, the 20th of January 2026. I am Councillor Jeff Jones and I will be chairing today's meeting. Just to make you all aware, this meeting will be recorded. And I welcome any members of the public and press to today's meeting. Can I kindly ask you to observe the meeting only and not speak or participate unless you have registered to do so. Please ensure that your phones are switched to silent for the duration of the meeting. I wish to remind members signing in remotely of the legal obligation to have the cameras switched on during the meeting, please, in order to be seen and heard while participating in council business. If you wish to speak or ask a question, please raise your electronic hand on Teams or physical hand if in person. Should you wish to ask any questions of any of the attendees here today, please ensure these come through me as the chair. I will now move on to agenda item 1, Chair's announcements. We are not due to have a fire drill, so should the fire alarm sound during the meeting, please make your way to the nearest exit. Agenda item 2 is declarations of interests. Are there any declarations of interests? Councillor Phil Rogers.
On the Llangatwg application, I am Vice Chair of the Governance.
Please send you an online form.
Okay, thank you.
See no declarations, Chair.
Thank you, Matthew. Agenda item 3. The minutes from the meeting held on the 9th of December 2025 are attached on pages 5 to 6 of the agenda pack for approval. Members, do you have any comments to make on the accuracy of these minutes? Oh, okay, thank you. Please, can I have a proposer and seconder to approve the minutes?
Happy to propose, Chair.
Thank you. Thank you, Carl. Carl, the second. Yeah, agree. Any abstentions? No. If you do not raise your hand to the contrary, I will assume you are in favour of approving the minutes.
See no hands, Chair, and I confirm those minutes have been approved.
Thanks again, Matthew. Agenda item 4 is a request for site visits. Are there any members who wish to suggest a site visit on either application present today or for any other matter?
Dennis, I'm saying it's the answer.
Is this
Dennis, yes.
Councillor Keogh?
Thank you, Chair. I've had a request from the local member in Tonna, Leanne Jones. She requests through us a site visit, as she can't request it herself. So we put it to the committee. If she gives me a long list of reasons why they think the site visit is needed. I don't know if I'm allowed to read it or.
Yeah. Yes, you are, Councillor Keogh.
Thank you. Let me get it up on my iPad. That should be a good idea. Right. In practical terms, this proposal amounts to a very substantial development, comparable in scale to a small village. Its impacts would extend well beyond the application site and would directly affect residents in Fairyland Road, Tonna, Clyne, Melling Court, Resolven and Tonmawr. These are not minor matters. In my view, the proposal has the potential to fundamentally damage the Fairyland Road community. Residents rely on a single-track road as the sole means of access, as well as on natural supplies of potable water. There is no alternative access route. There is no proposal to restrict or divert the significant volume of construction traffic that would inevitably use the Fairyland Road. Furthermore, Welsh Water has advised residents that it cannot supply a development of this scale. In that context, suggestions from council officers that the developer could simply replace lost or contaminated water supplies are unsupported. Local residents and farmers depend on these water sources for their homes and their livelihoods. This application also raises a number of additional concerns which, in my view, need to be shared more widely. At present, many residents in the affected communities remain largely unaware of the scale and the implications of the proposed development. And that was from Councillor Leanne Jones. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Keogh. It needs to be clear that it is you putting the request forward for the site visit.
Yes, please.
Okay. Yeah, sorry. Chief of the vote, is that? Oh, you will need a second, that case.
I'd be happy to second that. That was the one I was going to
Okay.
propose as well.
I'll do this after this.
Okay,
Okay, can I just?
okay, yes, you are. Chris.
Thank you, Chair. Both obviously members may vote on a site visit. What I would suggest is obviously the presentation will provide you information which will set out the extent of the application and obviously images of the application itself. Just to be aware, Fairyland Road is not part of this application, so the comments made in relation to use of this during construction and access for the site if operational would all come from a new access which has previously had planning permission under a smaller scheme that's set out within the planning history. So you will note that this has been changed since the applicant originally put in their PAC application, which is their pre-consultation exercise prior to submitting an application. They were going to use Fairyland Road for limited construction works. All of that work has now been removed, and there are conditions imposed on this permission which require that new access to be constructed first, and for all construction and all operation to be via this new access point. The Fairyland Road will be unaffected at all. Obviously, for the need for a site visit, I would say that it would be for members to actually see the context of the site in the wider surroundings, as there is no development on site apart from a very limited number of lodges that were built under previous permissions. So we would have to access the site via Fairyland Road, which is not the proposed access point for this site. The new road is not built, so you would not be able to see or walk that route because it would be unsafe at this time in terms of health and safety. And there will be only limited areas of the actual application site to be able to view, which is obviously located on private land top of the site. So obviously just to be aware that we can obviously go through the presentation, and should members at any point at a later point in the committee proceedings wish to call for a site visit again, then they can do so. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Keogh, with what Chris said there now, you think it might be worth now going through the presentation first, and then maybe if you need to later, then call for a site meeting?
Well, as I say, I'm merely reporting what Councillor Jones's
Yes.
concerns were. But as I say, I'm happy to go along with Chris and see the presentation.
Because you can't call for a site meeting, sorry, anytime through this process.
Yeah,
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Keogh.
Second.
Is that all right, Sarah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
Chris?
Yeah.
Well, actually, application number P2024-0543, Bacalena, Fairyland Road, Torna. Outline planning application for a proposed holiday resort comprising of 120 lodges, etc. I would now like to call on planning officer to take us through the report. Chris?
Thank you, Chair. This application is P2024-0543, which is outline planning application with all matters reserved proposed holiday resort comprising up to 120 lodges, associated leisure building offering hospitality, pool, new access roads, parking facilities, and associated infrastructure, including sustainable drainage and on-site water treatment, landscaping, and lighting. On site known locally as Park Palena or Fairyland Road, Torna. You'll see that this application is made in outline with all matters reserved. Thereby, whilst I'll be showing you some images of the layout of the site and some images of buildings that are proposed, please be aware that this is only indicative information and the detail will have to be submitted should this application be approved under separate reserved matters and discharge condition applications. So here you'll see the application.
Can I ask a quick question about that first statement?
Okay, Sarah.
Yeah, can we?
It said it was on-site wastewater removal, whereas having read the papers, it clearly says that's not an option. Has that changed, or is that still the plan?
Yeah, if I can go through the presentation, but obviously there are conditions and assessment of what they've submitted. So as we pointed out previously, just because the applicant proposes something doesn't necessarily mean that the local authority or other consultees may accept that, which is the description of development is what the applicant applies for. For example, they could provide a description of up to 120 lodges, and the local authority may consider that it's only acceptable for 100 lodges because of highway safety reasons. So in terms of the application before you, you have to consider the recommendation, the assessment, the consultative responses, and the conditions that the local authority is proposing in line with what the consultative responses are being submitted to us.
Okay, thank you, Chris.
So the plan before you shows the application site as red, and the area land in blue is that within the applicant's ownership and control. You will see the zigzag red line at the top of the plan. That is the proposed access to the site. And you will note from the condition clause that that would be the access for during construction and operation, and will be limited and controlled by a condition within the Planning Commission of the sole need for access to the site. Again, this is a location plan submitted with the application, identifying the application site as red, and obviously the location of the access road, as you can see on that plan. So here are some images of the site. You can see some of the existing structures within it, the wide open areas, and the forested areas within the application site. Again, some alternative aerial images of the site. One of the existing cabins that's located on the site, and you will note the extensive planning history set out on pages 11 and 12 of the report, which shows that there's been a number of applications for tourism development within this area, including consent for the road, as previously discussed with you. Again, some other images across the site. So this is the indicative master plan that's been provided by the applicant. It shows an array of different types of lodges within the development. You can see the road constructed above that main road that runs through Brent Ferry, runs through Fairyland, through Tonner. So that would be the sole access. You know, conditions on the Planning Commission requiring further details of that road, including access and the junction design, which requires a right down turn lane, lighting, and associated road safety audits as part of that. Lighting up the highway itself, which would be the road would not be adopted within the site. That will have low level bollard lighting to ensure safety, but also to comply with requirements regarding biodiversity. So in terms of that indicative layout, it is indicative. It is just a plan indicating where they consider that lodges could be located. And again, you will note that there's, as an outline application, further reserve matters applications would have to come in showing the detail of exactly where the lodges would go. And obviously there's quite a lot of technical information to come in as well regarding conditions that are being caused by Mining Remediation Authority, land contamination conditions, landscaping and visual assessment that will feed into the detailed layout if should this application be approved and proceed to reserve matter stage. So again, these are some indications of how the site would be developed in terms of assessing the topography within the site. You can see the existing woodland screening, and you will note that there are conditions regarding landscape and proposals as part of the application as well. So here is the existing junction point of the main road that we discussed. So the access would come in off this point with a detailed designed junction, which, as I said, would be part of conditions and reserve matters application. That road would have to be constructed fully to allow for the construction of any development on site any further than what's already got planning permission. This gives you an indication, as you will note, that we're recommending approval subject to a number of conditions, but also Section 106 agreement regarding the habitat management plan. You will note that that habitat management plan, subject to that legal agreement, would be for a minimum of 35 years and would address both biodiversity gain and enhancement across the site, and a total management of all of that area, including the application site and that area excluded within the applicant's ownership and control. Again, noting that this is an outline application, but the applicant has provided as parameters of development, but the scale of the proposed buildings on the site as required as part of this type of application. They've also indicated some images regarding the potential footprint and design layout of the lodges and hub centre. So this again, you will note that there are conditions on the planning permission that require the hub building and the facilities on the site to be provided in a timely fashion along with the development of the lodges, which means that they can only construct and occupy a certain number of lodges before the hub building and the other facilities are provided, as the applicants are providing an application today for a holiday resort, not just holiday lodges. Again, some indications of how they look at different exemplars of how that would be designed and fit into the existing landscape, noting that obviously these are just indicative images. And again, some images regarding proposed lodge exteriors, how they see that's going to be designed. But again, all the detail on those would be submitted as part of that reserve matters application. So you will note the obviously the planning history within the site that's had planning consent for tourism development before. Obviously, at a slightly smaller scale. I think the maximum of 32 units previously. The road has previously had planning permission as part of that application. You will note that that planning history is set out on pages 11 to 12, and the consultee replies, including objections and comments that we've received from members of the public, are set out on pages 12 to 16. So we're recommending approval subject to the conditions and the legal agreement that we set out here, which is set out on pages from 67 onwards. So we're recommending approval on this application subject to those conditions and the legal agreement. Thank you, Chair.
Yeah, thank you, Chris. Councillor Keogh, do you still need to proceed with the site visit, the request for a site visit?
No, but what I'm going to say is that the application itself, it seems to be a lot of ifs, ands and buts in it. It doesn't, it's an application. It's not very secure at all. It's a case of we'll make it up as we go along. That's what it seems to me from the presentation. I don't know if any other councillors feel that way, but that's what it seems to me. It just, we'll make it up as we go along, or we'll suck it and see, you know? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Obviously, that is the nature of an outline application. There's only certain limited information in which they provide. You will note that there are a large number of conditions on there, similar, in fact, to any of you who were on planning committee when obviously the Wild Fox development in Avon Valley Adventure Resort, as it was called then, gained outline plan permission. So whilst they show indicative images, that would all be subject to the reserve matters, and in this case, they are reserving all matters for future consideration. The important elements that we wish to control, there's obviously conditions regarding reserve matter submission, there's conditions about pre-commencement conditions and other schemes that need to be submitted, and technical details that need to be provided as part of those applications. There's also conditions that control the development in terms of ensuring that the access point and road are secured and that is fixed at this point in time, and also the parameters of development. So any development that would have to be constructed under this outline permission would need to comply with those parameters of development in terms of footprint, so in terms of lengths, widths and heights of buildings, they still have to comply. But obviously, because of the nature of an outline application, there are elements that are obviously still up for consideration. But that would mean that submission of formal reserve matters applications, which again would be party to full consultation with all relevant consultees and neighbours, and potentially consideration at planning committee should members wish that application to come forward at planning committee.
Thank you, Chris. Can I call in Councillor Sarah Thomas, please?
Thank you. Yes. So I mean, I can understand your point about the site visit. I do have some concerns about the road. Would it not be possible for us to see where the road is supposed to be going? Concerns have been raised about it not being suitable for the level of traffic, not least of which the construction traffic. But like Councillor Keogh, I also have some concerns about this application. I do appreciate it's in pre-planning, but we have seen quite a few of those. This one seems to raise more questions than it answers, and my deep concern on this is the water supply and the wastewater transfer, and I don't really feel comfortable supporting this with those questions left open-ended, with conditions or not, really.
Okay, thank you, Sarah. I'd now like to call in the local ward member, please, Councillor D. Lewis, if he has anything to say.
Yes, thank you, Chair. As a local member, I do support this project and the positive boost it will bring to our local economy. While most community concerns have been addressed in the report, I wish to place my questions on the record to ensure full transparency and thorough examination of the proposal, if that's okay. Sorry, my phone has dropped. So what specific measures will be implemented to ensure safe vehicle and pedestrian ingress and egress to and from the new Park Pelena via the B4434, both during construction and once the project is complete? Additionally, how will Fairyland Road be used throughout these phases, including any temporary closures, traffic management plans, or permanent changes to its layout or access restrictions? That's question one. Shall I wait for a reply for that one first, Chair?
Chris, you happy with that?
Yeah, I can.
Yeah,
take it back
okay.
to that. As a local member will note, we've got specific conditions on there regarding the design of that highway. Obviously, highways are satisfied that the information is provided, it can provide suitable access for the site and the traffic, including construction. But obviously, as again, the detail of that junction arrangement and all the details of that highway will be subject to reserve matters approval. Again, I draw members' attention to condition 52 that specifically says all access, that the road has to be constructed and all construction and development in operation has to utilise this new access road with no access off Fairyland Road at all.
Okay.
Yeah, question number two there, Jeff. These are what I'm getting from local residents as well. What formal guarantees, legal safeguards or planning conditions will be put in place to prevent Park Pelena from being repurposed as a housing development at any stage during or after its construction?
Yeah, so again, I draw your attention obviously to the application itself and what they're applying for, but also condition 49. And that obviously restricts the use to class C6, which is short-term lets, which can be occupied for no longer than 31 days per letting period. So for members to be aware, recently Welsh Government changed the use classes order in relation to the use class, C use class for residential properties to include C5 and C6 uses to address predominantly issues regarding second homes and Airbnbs being operated. So this is restricted via that condition to ensure that those properties are retained for this type of use and cannot be then used as someone's sole residence.
Okay, thanks,
Thank you,
Chris.
Chris.
One left. One left. Many local residents have expressed concerns that Park Pelena could be used as an immigration camp. Can the committee confirm whether this has ever been considered as a potential use for the site, and what measures are in place to ensure the facility is used only for its stated purpose as outlined in the planning application?
Chris.
Again, I would just refer to the application itself and also the condition that restricts the use for short-term lets only in terms of holiday accommodation. See, as you can imagine, building a new access road up the side of a mountain and providing lodges of the type that's shown within the application is a very expensive project. And obviously, while we can't say that funding will be available to deliver that project, just as we can on any planning application, it's obviously a significant cost to deliver that. But in terms of any discussion that anyone had with any alternative uses, I'm not aware that we've had any.
Thank you, Chris. Okay, Dean.
Thank you, Chris. Yeah, thank you, guys.
Hey, Carl,
Thank you,
Carl, I'll come to you, do the members' questions, okay? I know you've been waiting a while, but we've got to go through the process, and there we are. Next, can I please call on the registered speaker, Sheila Pavan, who wishes to speak against the application. You will have 5 minutes to address the committee. Matthew will confirm when the time has ended.
Can I ask one question first? I don't want to use all my talk with what Sioned Williams has said, but no one's mentioned Sioned Williams's request for a site visit.
Oh, sorry.
Siôn Williams, our member in the Senate.
She comes to question, especially.
I'm
We
sorry.
wanted to pass that on to councillors, and I don't know that they.
Yeah, but I'm sorry, but it's only members who can request a site visit. Members of the planning committee.
Sorry, I don't know what the process is, so I'm just putting forward the things that I can.
Okay, thank you.
Right. Okay, I'm introducing myself as an objector, and I say thank you for letting me to come and speak. My name is Sheila Pavan. I live at Penrhyn Harad, which is about 150 metres from the nearest proposed part of this development. There is a gas main between us. We've lived there since 1987. We brought up our children, our grandchildren there, and like many of the residents up there, we have lived there for many, many years, safeguarding the area, the environment, and living within it, conserving our water, and generally living, just looking after the place. Now we have a development now suggested by someone from, I hate to say someone from England, but who has no experience of developing in Wales, who has never made, from what I can see online, just small developments in places like the Cotswolds and Oxford and Surrey. So I wonder about their ability to manage this site. So I'm asking you councillors as elected representatives to please consider the implications for our community at the top of Ferrylander Road and the wider community. We have no one else who can speak for us. This is our last ditch attempt. We weren't even made aware that this meeting was actually happening. I found out by chance, and by that chance I am here as speaker, although it's not something I would have chosen to do, but it's better to have someone to speak than no one to speak at all. So as far as the access goes, you're saying that Ferryland Road will not be used. Ferryland Road is a single track road. It has had a huge increase in traffic over the years. We now have deliveries from Amazon, food companies, all sorts. We have walkers, we have cyclists. I know you say you're not going to use it, but what I cannot understand, unless you put a specific condition in that says Ferryland Road is actually closed to that development. You call it Plena, we call it Penrhyn Harad, which was its original name. It's some other name now. It's been through a series of names like Estates Farm and whatever. So unless you actually close that road, there is nothing to stop people coming up that road or using that road, construction traffic or otherwise. There is nothing to stop it. It has to be closed. So that's I could see nothing in that planning application that actually means that condition can be kept in place. We do not want to have the problem of trying to monitor the traffic going up and down the road, like we've had when previous applications failed and we had lorry loads of stone going up and down. So that's that point. But my main concern is our water supply. We have a spring water supply. Nearly everyone else has either spring water or boreholes. This goes into the water table. All previous applications have never been able to say what will happen to the water once you dig into the mountainside. If we lose our water, we cannot live there. There is no alternative. When I contacted Welsh Water many, many years ago to see about a water supply, they quoted me upwards of $250,000, that was in 1980s, upwards of $250,000 to put 2 pumping stations in and put a water supply in. If this water supply isn't put in straight away, the same time as this new access road, where are they going to get their water from? I know the planning officer has said that the agreement we have with the original person, which went back to 1920, to share the water supply with the owner of Penrhyn Harad, that's a civil matter. Well, okay, maybe it's a civil matter, but water and access to potable water is a human right. If we cannot have that water, if something happens to it, if we lose it or it's contaminated, then we cannot live there. And then the council, I'm sure, will come along and say, oh, this house is unfit for human habitation. We have lived here for many, many years. We love the place. It's our home, and we don't want to lose it. And I would urge you really to consider the possible implications. Okay, Welsh Water have said that they cannot supply this development. but they cannot deal with the sewage from this development. So that means extra costs when this applicant then has to fund the improvement to the system in order to get Welsh Water can't supply it. How are they going to supply us with an alternative water supply, which they say is one of the conditions of the application? But if we lose our water, it's contaminated. How will they supply us with water? Do we have to prove that it's their work that's caused that problem, even though we've had water for over 100 years? I'm sorry, I'm getting angry over this, but I am. British Coal have come forward. They haven't objected. Can I please say just the last bit? No, they haven't objected. They have said this land is grossly contaminated and there are unknown mine workings.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
I wish I had more time.
If you want to, Chris.
Thank you for coming along today. I'm speaking your comments. Obviously, it's not an easy thing, public speaking. I have to do it regularly and I can't stand it myself. As pointed out previously, this application is made in outline. There are a number of responses that we've received, and you will note there are conditions on there from the Mining Remediation Authority regarding further works that they have to undertake, which will obviously inform the detail and layout of the site, just as it has on others. There are conditions on about land contamination. Specifically in relation to water supply, you will note that there is a condition that requires details of the potable water supply. The applicant's aware of the costs and issues associated with that, and that is obviously a scheme that would need to be submitted and dealt with as part of that Reserve Matters application. Again, there's a condition number 19, which relates to foul surface water, foul drainage, and that again is a condition that's been requested by Welsh Water, which would be imposed word for word onto this application. There's also a condition 39, which relates to what the derogation of water supplies, whereas if there's any evidence of derogation of water supplies to any assessment or any private water supplies, the applicant has to do a full investigation, and if it's found that they are at fault, they have to provide an alternative form of water supply if there's any issues that raise. But in terms of these schemes, obviously what members and residents need to understand is that there is still opportunity that if the applicant cannot address those things satisfactorily, that the local authority or including its statutory consultees would say that the information provided is unacceptable. Therefore, even should this application be recommended for approval today and they submit Reserve Matters applications, does not mean that everything will go through. There are still a lot of hurdles to go through, which is obviously why the applicant in this case has submitted an outline planning application to secure the principle of the issues that they wish to do. They then have to go away and work out the further detail, which is again additional cost for them to put that forward. But in terms of the matters raised, there is a specific condition that says they cannot use Fairland Road. The details of the scheme and the layout of the site will provide also details of boundary enclosures and access to rights of way, and the details of that will obviously make clear whether or not they are trying through other means to try and get the vehicular access onto a road that we've obviously said is unsuitable. And should they utilise that road in the future, that would be subject to enforcement action that we would need to take. But in terms of the layout and design of the site, it can be designed in a way that would ensure that there would be no possibility of connection for the site itself to Fairland Road. But again, that would be part of the Reserve Matters application. So whilst the comments are noted, we also note those concerns, and our consultees have noted as concerns, but they are matters that can be dealt with as conditions or Reserve Matters as part of this application before us. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Chair. Next, can I call on Liam Hopkins, representative for the applicant, to speak in support of the application. You will have 5 minutes to address the committee. Matthew will confirm when the time has ended.
Good afternoon, members of the committee. My name is Liam Hopkins, speaking on behalf of the applicant. Thank you for the opportunity to address you all this afternoon. The proposed scheme represents a major development for premium tourism and leisure, offering an outstanding landscape setting. And the scheme is a significant private investment that can positively impact on the local economy. Economic modelling in the planning application identifies some of the following key outcomes. In terms of construction, 144 direct jobs, increasing to 322 when indirect jobs in the local supply chain and area are accounted for, 25 direct operational jobs, which would increase to 58 operational when indirect jobs and jobs in the local area are accounted for. In terms of business rates, looking at generating over £90,000 every year and an annual spend by visitors to the development in the local area of over 8.5 million. So a development with an opportunity to have a very positive economic impact. In light of that, the authority's tourism section does obviously support the application, identifying that there's a real opportunity to deliver tourism employment at a location in a location that would be highly appealing to visitors. Further, the proposal could help to grow the local visitor economy in the area and help to deliver the borough's destination management plan. So there are obviously positive benefits with the application. Obviously, much of the conversation has been on the key environmental matters, and that is very much understandable. An outline planning application has been put in place. The strategy for that is very much to deal with the complexity of obviously delivering a scheme like this on a site like that. And the idea is to establish the principles of development with planning conditions and then future reserve matters designed to be agreed and worked through with officers and stakeholders. I think the approaches that have been put in place and which are detailed in the conditions are very comprehensive and also the planning agreement. And the applicant is supportive of what is in the committee report. How some of the key environmental matters are to be managed, just to summarise, are as follows. I will not kind of repeat a lot of what officers and members have already raised. In respects of residential amenity, the reports are identifying no unacceptable impacts on nearby residents, with specific reference to suitable separation distance between the development and the nearest residential properties. We've talked about construction access, and there is a condition requiring that the access off the B4434 is in place before the construction of the actual lodges. Plus, there would be a construction traffic management plan to minimise impacts. There's obviously been a discussion around ground and spring water, and appreciate that's a very sensitive issue and needs to be dealt with fully. And again, there is a condition on the permission requiring a water resources protection plan to make sure that water resources and supply are protected. And I think in terms of Welsh Water, they don't object, and the applicant is fully understanding that they would need to do a hydraulic modelling assessment to understand what it takes to provide a supply to the site. A key part of the scheme has been, looking at woodland enhancement and protection. NRW positively are not objecting to the application, and neither are the council's ecological officers. So a lot of work has been undertaken on the site over the past 2 or 3 years, but before that, we go back to 2010 really, in terms of understanding the nature of the site, the arboricultural constraints, and the fauna and the habitat that are there to make sure that that's fully accounted for in the design. I think one of the key drivers of this scheme is trying to deliver this tourism offer with an outstanding landscape offer. And the landscape design, which will be detailed out in the future, will be part of that, but also delivering biodiversity net gain, which is a key requirement for the scheme as well. I think that gives a bit of a snapshot of some of the key outputs. I think just in terms of the applicant, obviously this is not the first time that a leisure development's been proposed at the site and has been granted. There have been 4 previous planning applications. This does now mark a significant increase in size, and that's to do with improving the financial performance of the scheme. So the increase in size does mark a commitment by the developer to actually deliver. And the estimated financial performance is detailed in the application, and it does show a viable scheme. So the emphasis is very much on delivery beyond an outline stage. The applicant does have a track record of delivering. It's delivered holiday schemes in Scotland, Cornwall and the Cotswolds, but it's also built a lot of schemes for other operators as well. So it does have that track record, and it's also a really good contractor with a proven timber frame, which has outstanding energy efficiency. So, a lot of other developers are using that, and that would be used on the site. So just to conclude, I think the principle of development is deemed to be sound. It does represent a major... and I think, we just support the conclusions drawn by the officer.
Okay, thank you, Liam. Thank you. I now take question. Or Chris, do you want to come on? Fine. I will now take questions from the members of the committee. Carl, you've been very patient, mate. Lovely job.
Thank you, Chair. Just a couple of questions for Chris, please. The this access planned for this site obviously is cutting across an existing driveway owned by Mr. Gerald Poulton. I'm just wondering, has Mr. Poulton been consulted on the access actually crossing his drive? A second point in it as well. The construction phase of this coming across and entering into from the existing carriageway into the proposed site until its completion of being tarmacked off completely is going to continue to send soil and chip-ins along the carriageway, which has already been haunted by floodwater running across it. There's no lighting across this road at all from its entire length from Tonna, which is approximately 3/4 of a mile. And there are no suitable footpaths for pedestrians wanting to possibly walk from the site to a shop, etc. So just wondering if any of these can be addressed by the planning, please. Thank you.
Yes, I believe that the owner was consulted as part of the application, and obviously, just to be aware, land ownership is not a planning matter. Whilst landowners may disagree today, they may find an agreement tomorrow. So obviously the applicant needs to ensure that when he's proposing the development, he can deliver it in accordance with all landowners and the constraints that he has to provide. The detail of the junction, what works would need to be provided as part of construction phase, and what the finish of that would be, it will be conditions of that planning application. So our highway colleagues may consider that a fully completed highway junction and fully tarmac road may be required, or it may be that the first so many meters that's tarmac to prevent any material coming out onto the public highway. But again, as inferred previously, there will be construction management plan, and that would set out deliveries, times, details, wheel washing, etc., to prevent that happening. In terms of pedestrian access, obviously anyone who knows that site will realise there are no footways on that length of road, so providing a pedestrian access onto a main road that has no footways to link onto wouldn't be a really sensible thing to provide. So you will note again that there are conditions there. There are rights of way crossing the site and adjacent to the site, where there's rights of way and bridleways all around there. So there's a condition on there that we've had discussions with our active travel section about how the applicant will address how they will link this site into the existing active travel network, including into the wider services that Neath and other areas can be on, including other tourism facilities. So, for example, when we've talked on other sites for tourism, they have connections with other uses. So, for example, they might have links with other businesses who provide off-site activities like whitewater rafting or, canal boats or whatever. And then they will have linkages with them, and then they will take those people who are interested on site off-site for activities. But there's additional conditions requiring further details on the business plan and the tourism connections and the active travel connections as part of this application.
Okay, thank you, Chris. Happy, Carl?
Can I come back with Chris regards bridleways?
Of course.
At present, Chris, the bridleways that cross from Tonna into Resolven, Klein, etc., and over into the Pelena are inaccessible by persons using a horse. Totally inaccessible. This has been written and reported back to our bridleways department, and at present, no response back.
Okay, thank you, Carl. Okay, yeah. Next, Councillor Tim Bowen.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I've got a couple of questions for the applicant. As you noted earlier on, there's been a lot of applications put in over the years, going back to 2014. 32 holiday homes approved, withdrawn. 22 holiday homes, withdrawn.
Tim, can I interrupt you there? Questions cannot be put to the applicant. It has to be to the planning
the chair. Okay. Can I put them to the applicant? Yeah. What are the reasons behind all these withdrawal?
Well, I mean, in terms of planning history, it speaks for itself that there's been various options put forward over the years. Obviously, the existing landowner is not the applicant, and the existing landowner has obviously considered that he's tried different versions of schemes in the past. Viability comes into play with all applications, and I think reading between the lines of obviously what the applicant's agent has advised today, but obviously to construct a highway to access a site that would then accommodate 20, 30 units would probably, the expense of that wouldn't justify the benefit that they'd get from those units. So I think that's why someone who's looked at it, looked at a business plan about what they need to provide on site in terms of the facilities, the length, the lodges, the quality of those lodges, and the environment in which those lodges sit. I think clearly showed that they've tried to look at this more holistically rather than just try and address the highway issue, which has been the predominant issue in the past, where Fairland Road is not a suitable access for lodges, which then limits the numbers. And I think that now the proposal put forward appears to look at that more holistically. So I think, there's obviously various reasons why schemes haven't come forward. I mean, there's many applications that we dealt with here that still get to come forward, but predominantly I would say the issue is predominantly viability.
Okay. Second question, what will happen to the existing lodges? They're going to be demolished? Again, sorry.
There's only one lodge I think built at the moment, and there's one property on site as well.
Right, okay. Right, and I'd just like to raise a concern. This went out to consultation to the Community Council, or Clyde Community Council, and there's been no objections for or against it. So I just like to know that the Community Council do represent the residents of Connor and so forth, and they've put no objections in against this, which is a big concern if the residents are supposed to be represented by them.
So just for clarity, I don't think we received a response. So in terms of support or against, we did not receive a response from the Community Council, which is noted in the report.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Gareth Rice.
Thank you, Chair. A lot more questions, more than answers with the presentation and the previous questions on the site. I still think a site visit we'd certainly benefit from. See it for ourselves. You're talking about bridle ways and paths and that. And if we don't know the area, it just raises a lot more questions. By note, through the pack, there's lots of comments, and we've consulted with South Wales Fire and Rescue. Why are we with South Wales when we are Middle West? And the comments they raise, are they generic comments or are they concerns regarding hydrants and vehicle access?
The pack process is undertaken by the applicant prior to the submission of the application. From my experience, what you normally receive are generic comments regarding suitability of access to water for firefighting, etc. Again, as part of Reserve Matters applications, we would do a full consultation with any relevant consultees to ensure that that informed the information that was submitted in the detail of the application.
Thank you, Chris. Okay, Gareth?
Yeah, that's fine, thanks.
Okay, thank you. Sarah Thomas?
Thank you, Chair. So one of the things that I noticed is, obviously there's 53 trees that are going to be taken down. And looking at the route of that road, the access road they're going to build, are the majority of those because of that access road? And if so, is there any alternate path it could take that doesn't involve going through the middle of those trees?
Well, in terms of the route of the highway, obviously it has to be designed in a way that it can reach appropriate gradients. So obviously going straight up the mountain wouldn't achieve the gradients you provide. Noting that the route of this has previously had plan permission in the past. What you will see from their ecological assessment is they assess the quality of the trees and the number of trees we felt across the site as a whole, trying to minimise the loss of trees, because obviously as a proposed landscaping scheme then that would come in afterwards, obviously felling trees and then having to replant doesn't make any viability sense, but obviously not ecological sense. But in terms of the wider ecological benefit. As you can see, this management plan would not just cover the application site in red, but the area edged in blue, which the applicant will have control over as well. So from a ecological point of view, from our biodiversity section, this will provide a significant increase in terms of biodiversity value for that area, with a managed scheme for a minimum of 35 years, where currently there is no management of that land whatsoever. I think there's quite a few trees that are evergreen, that some of those are going to be removed. But in terms of biodiversity and game and tree planting and the ability to provide various types of habitats for the species that are in the area, our biodiversity section are more than happy with what's been put forward. But again, as part of this application, there will be a legal agreement that will cover that habitat management plan for 35 years to ensure that those details are all set out within that habitat management plan and delivered in a timely fashion as part of the application and managed post-operation.
Another question? Thank you. So finally, if we were to approve this pre-planning application, can we guarantee, perhaps by including a sort of an additional condition, that the planning application itself, when it comes in, does come to committee?
It's not a pre-planning application, it's obviously an outline planning application. But you wouldn't put a condition on to say how it would be determined. Obviously, local members will be consulted on that application, and local members have the ability to call that application to committee should they wish. I would imagine, should this application come in its entirety as the whole development, which is what's being proposed at the moment, obviously we cannot foresee whether or not the applicant in the future may wish to phase the development, provide it in separate phases. But in terms of the scale of it, it is likely, due to the public interest, and then we will have the detail with all of the schemes, it is very likely that this application will become in front of Plan Committee for determination again.
So I've got to be honest, I think I've been clear. I'm a little uncomfortable with some of the question marks that are on this. So like having a reassurance that it's definitely going to come to Planning Committee before any final approval process would reassure me on that and help me support the officer recommendation.
Yeah, I mean, I would imagine, I can't say 100% because we never know when that would come in. But I would say that it's pretty much guaranteed that reserve matter application would come before members because of the scale of the application and the level of detail that will come in as part of that. So in terms of my personal view, I would probably wish that application to be determined by Planning Committee rather than it being determined by my officers.
I would concur with that, Chair. I think due to the scale of the development and the potential impact that it has, potentially have both in the environment and implications for the economy, I think it is a fair bet this particular application, should it come forward as Chris has described, would come back to committee.
Yep. Thank you, Kerry. Thank you, Chris. Okay, Sarah?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, before I go any further now then, because it's been asked for a few times, is there any member who would like to put forward for a site visit?
Can I ask a about that?
Yes, okay.
So when we first suggested it, Chris was quite clear that we wouldn't be able to, for example, see the route that the road is supposed to be taking, and somebody has also said like the bridleways aren't accessible. So while I do think a site visit would be beneficial, obviously only if we can actually look at things and envisage where things are going to be. So could we perhaps have a little bit more clarity on that?
Well,
we would obviously, should members vote for a site visit, we will obviously have discussions. As I said, the landowner is not the applicant. The applicant would need to have discussion with the landowner about what is accessible and what isn't. What I would say is we obviously have to consider what is safe for you to visit. You know, if everyone's happy to tramp up and down a mountain, then obviously we would have to consider whether or not that would be appropriate. But obviously, a site visit is primarily to view the context of how this development would sit within the landscape and where it would be located, rather than give you any further clarity on the details of the majority of the issues that have been raised today. So I don't think there's many questions over. We're concerned about the location because we think it's going to be visually prominent, or we think the scale of the development is up to keeping the area, etc., etc. It's more of details about water supply, highway access, etc., which you're not really going to get an idea of. So we would obviously have a discussion with the applicant of if it's very different to the Avon Valley Adventure Zone, where there were existing tracks and networks through the site where you could stop off at different viewpoints to have a look at different locations. I imagine we can kind of go up there and give you a general idea and point to things. So if members felt that it was valuable to go and stand on the site and have a look at where it is, but in terms of those details, it's not going to give you really any more information regarding the details than the images that we've pointed out.
Yeah, thank you for that, Chris. Yes. Sarah, do you come back on anything?
No, I still think there could be benefit, not least of which, seeing where that access point is going to join the road. Because I mean, as you were saying, that there isn't anything there at the moment. This would be an entirely new road, right?
Site visit. Yeah. Sarah, are you going to propose a site visit?
I will, yes.
Okay. No seconder. No seconder. Okay, thank you, Cara. Okay. Before I proceed with the vote, are there any members or officers who have different views? Well, yeah. Okay, Carl. Yes, Carl.
Thank you again, Jeff. Due to the location of the access road, I would not like to carry out a site visit. There's nowhere for us to stand, etc. So I myself will not be attending. Thank you.
Thank you, Carl. Okay. We will now proceed with the vote. Mr. Councillor Thomas has proposed the site visit. Could I have a second?
Sorry,
Oh,
Councillor
there were
Rod
hands
Davis
up,
has got
yeah.
a hand raised.
Yes,
And
yes.
Anna Howard Aubrey.
Yeah, it was just to say at this moment in time, I would not be agreeing with the site visit.
Just needs to go to the vote, Madam Chair.
Let's just vote. We need to move through a vote for that, Councillor Aubrey. Okay, so we'll go through the procedure now. Okay. And I think Gareth Rice seconded it, so I think now Matthew will go through the voting process.
Okay, so if I could confirm first of all, Councillor Howard Aubrey, how do you wish to vote in respect of a site visit to this application?
I'm against the site visit.
And Councillor Tim Bowen?
Against.
Councillor Heath Davis?
Against.
Councillor Rosalind Davis, how do you wish to vote for a site visit?
Against.
Councillor James Henn, please.
Against.
Councillor Jeff Jones.
I'm against as well.
Councillor Carl Jordan, how do you wish to vote for a site visit, please?
For the information I provided, I will be voting against.
Councillor Dennis Keogh, please.
In view of the presentation, I don't see any point now because there's nothing to see. So I'm against.
Councillor Gareth Rice, please.
I support the site visit.
And lastly, Councillor Sarah Thomas, please.
I support a site visit.
Mr. Chair, I can confirm that's 2 votes to 8. 2 votes for 8, 2 votes for a site visit, 8 votes against.
Okay.
So the site visit is.
Yes. Thank you, Matthew. Yeah, calling the ward member address. To sum up now, would the local ward member Dean like to come back to sum up? Is Dean there?
Yeah, he's after him.
Dean Lewis? As the local ward member, would you like to come back?
I'm having problems with my phone a minute, guys. No, like I say, this is the early stages yet, so there's lots of hurdles to jump over. But like I say, I am in support of it. I think it'll greatly benefit the local community.
Okay, thank you, Dean. Now moving on to the recommendation and conditions. Oh, very sorry, I will go back. I did miss Councillor Dennis Keogh.
Thank you, Chair. It's more of a statement than anything else, not a question. Is that, I've been on this committee, 16, 17 years. And the thing is, I'm not against any development whatsoever because it does bring jobs now. But we have we have to protect the environment. We have to protect people who live within it. And if it isn't right, then we have to say so. But the conditions that have been placed on it, there's a lot of conditions on this. I just hope it's not another wild fox.
Yes, thank you for that, Dennis. So we'll move on now to the recommendation and conditions which start on page 61 of the report. And again, this application is recommended for approval. Could I have a proposer and seconder to consider the recommendation?
I propose.
Thank you. We have Tim Bowen proposing and Gareth.
Okay, I'm right on.
Rosalind seconded. Thank you.
Yes, that's fine.
Matthew, could you please ask each member if they have been present for the whole of the item and how they wish to vote? And could you confirm the decision, please?
Great, thank you, Chair. I'd like to start with Councillor Anne Harrod Aubrey. Can I confirm you've been present for the whole item and how you wish to vote, please?
Yes, and I support the recommendation.
Thank you. Councillor Tim Bowen, please.
Yes and yes.
Councillor Heath Davis, please.
Yes, and I support.
Thank you. Councillor Rosalind Davis, please.
I have been present for the whole item and I'm voting in favour of the application. Diolch.
Councillor James Henton, can I confirm you've been present for the whole item and how you wish to vote, please?
Yeah, present and support.
Councillor Jeff Jones, please.
I have been present and I vote for the recommendation.
Councillor Carl Jones, please.
Present and support.
Councillor Dennis Keogh, please.
Yes, I've been present throughout the meeting and I support it. Yes, thank you.
Councillor Gareth Rice, please.
Present throughout and support.
Thank you. And Councillor Sarah Thomas, please.
I have been present throughout and I do support the recommendation with some reservations.
Thank you, Chair. That's 10 votes for the application. That recommendation has been.
Thank you, Matthew. Thank you, committee. Now moving on to agenda item 6. Application number P20 2025 0314 Llangatto Comprehensive School. I would like to ask the planning officer to take us through the report. Yes.
Great, thank you, Chair. This is planning application P 2025 0314. Proposed demolition of the existing comprehensive school at Llangatto and construction of a new comprehensive school, modified car parking arrangement, sports pitches, multi-use games areas, lighting, landscaping, and associated infrastructure works. So this is the application site as it exists now. You will see the existing school buildings, which have been built up over time with the existing access arrangements. A lot of these buildings are in a poor state, and obviously the site has expanded over time significantly since its original inception. The playing fields there located at the top of the plan. These are at slightly higher level than the school buildings themselves, and even out the residential properties to the west and east, including a commercial coach building use directly to the north side as well. This gives you an indication of those existing school buildings and the extent of the site. You will notice the woodland rising up at the back of the site and the changes in levels on the northeast. The main road of Penskinner running around the front of the site, and obviously the existing highway access and network located to the front. That's the junction of the A465 you'll see off the bottom corner of the plan. So this is the proposed layout. Members be aware from seeing other schools that we brought before you. The principle is that obviously you construct the school buildings on the playing fields that you've got now to allow for the school to remain operational while it's being built, and the phasing of the construction thereby allows it to be completed whilst not shutting the school in its operation. You will note that the access remains fundamentally as existing, but separates off bus pick-up and drop-off with a more formalised car parking area within the site, including electric charging and bike parking. You will also notice this provides a bespoke service access point as well to the right-hand side of the plan. So again, provides a significant betterment in terms of car parking access, public pedestrian access into the site, as well as separating off services for safety. You'll see it provides the relevant sports pitches and 4G pitches within the site, including a running track, landscaping, and outdoor green spaces, including outdoor classroom areas. So these are some indicative images of the building, showing the materials. So it's predominantly red brick to mirror the design of the existing buildings that were on site, with some cladding. You will note that the building is U-shaped to create a courtyard to the front elevation facing onto Pen Skinner. That provides outdoor teaching space within the site. So what you'll see here on this plan, this section, is that a slightly lower area of the building here. This creates outdoor teaching space at that level as well. This is Pen Skinner Road that you'll see to the right-hand side of the plan. We give you an indication of the scale of the building in comparison and how far it's set back on the site. Again, details of crossing points and access points into the site. So as part of the application, consideration has been had with both the highway section, active travel, and safe routes to school to make sure that what's being provided addresses both appropriate parking for the site, but also appropriate safe access for pupils. So currently there is a school crossing patrol on the main road, and that's supposed to be retained. You will note there are conditions on the application regarding road safety audits, and should there be any additional crossing points or works required to address those will be undertaken as part of any 278 agreements as part of the highway works scheme. Again, quite significant landscaping proposed. So tree planting. I draw your attention to this hatched green area located between the residential properties there to the left and the pitches. Significant work was done during the application to address any potential impacts regarding lighting and noise to the pitches. And those pitches were moved further away from the original concept to create this landscaping feature and bund to ensure that any residential impacts were minimised. Again, means of enclosure to the site in relation to the school by design to ensure that once people are in the site, it's safe, to ensure that it's all secured through all boundaries. As usual for all buildings local authority owns, we have bats. So you've got an existing bat roost within the building. There's a significant cost for dealing with bats. So they're like a pest in this Talbot, to be honest. So as part of the proposals, they've undertaken bat surveys. Those bat surveys, as you know from the conditions, would need to be reassessed prior to any works taking place. Because obviously bats move around and they need to assess exactly what's on site at the time. But as part of this application, they've identified two options in terms of bat roost. So a new building for bats that would be used for storage on the ground floor with an appropriate space within the ceiling, within the roof space for bats that would accommodate worst case scenario. So that's been identified on the application site, but may not necessarily be required once the detail of the bat survey and species identified are provided. They can, but it's shown on the application that it can be provided. Detailed lighting surveys have been undertaken, and there are additional conditions regarding assessment of those, and the usual rapid conditions regarding assessment once they're installed, and any complete procedures since. You will note, you can see that dark area where we've pushed the playing fields further away from the site. So the lighting schemes have been assessed by environmental health colleagues, and they consider them to be acceptable, noting the conditions that we've suggested within the application. This is a bit more detail on the bunding that's located in that area. You will see the section there located on a small plan at the bottom of the site, but you'll see the residential properties with the boundary of the site itself, and then a bunded area with landscaping, soften the impact before you get to the acoustic screening and the bolt stop fence, which is set further away to provide that area of separation. So we are recommending approval of the development subject to conditions, and you will note those within the details as provided in the report. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you for the report, Chris. The local ward member, Mr. Rogers, have anything to say?
I would like to say, can I start first off?
Sorry, Chair, not to mention one more thing, and you again. And members note the slight variation to petition 5, where we've added in a dust management plan into that condition to ensure that that's part of the construction management plan overall.
Right. Thanks, Chris.
Okay. Thank you, Chair. I'd like to start by thanking the officers. I know that a tremendous amount of work has been done on this up to now, and trying to alleviate any problems that come, because we had open consultation within the school, and virtually everything that residents brought up, I think we've reacted to. So my big thanks to all the officers who put a tremendous amount of work into this. I'm very supportive of this. I think it's long overdue. Having been, I'm not only a ward member, I'm actually vice chair of the governors within Llangatug, and we desperately need a new school. So I'm here to try and encourage the members of the committee to support this straight away if we can. We need it as soon as possible. The only question I've got, and Chris did touch on it, is about keeping the crossing patrol. Personally, I would like to make a request for a pelican crossing there. I have spoken with Martin Bundy this morning, and he is looking into a way where we can put it in. But if that could be included in there, I think having done speed surveys, the speed the cars are going past the school on the lower road is excessive. And I think we need something that is going to actually stop the traffic and create a safer environment for our pupils. Thank you.
Thank you, Phil. Okay, go on, Chris.
Obviously, I mentioned the road safety audit, but what I'll do is I want to steal the thunder of our highways colleagues, so I'll give us something to say today. But perhaps she can talk you through the process in terms of, we've obviously seen the design of it, but it'll go through a number of stages, and that may highlight slight changes and tweaks to works in the highway. And obviously, as a highway authority, there's works that we can do as part of that. But my colleague Joanna will go through detail.
Yes, totally appreciate where you're coming from in terms of a controlled crossing point as opposed to the standard school crossing patrol officer. As you said, you've spoken to Martin Brumby in our traffic management section. Down to his section, we can put it through as a requirement as part of the off-site works in terms of the section 278 agreements to facilitate the amended access and the proposed new access points to the site as well. That his team then can instrument surveys, as you said, looking at traffic speed, volumes, etc., to see if it hits the criteria to put one of these sort of control crossing points in place for you. But that is something that we can obviously look at in terms of making a safer crossing point.
Thank you for the children. Thank you very much. Thanks a lot.
Just to clarify, because obviously what the complexity of the road safety audit is when they're done at different stages. Even after stuff is put in on site, it's assessed then afterwards to make sure that it is all compliant. So all the way through those stages, there's assessments made on safety, and obviously for a school, you've obviously got the safe routes to school and all of that involvement as well. So they were part of this discussion as well.
Yeah, there's 4 stages to the road safety audit process. The first stage will be sort of feasibility, when we look at the plan as it comes in. That then will be run through accredited auditors, who then come forward with their recommendations then, and it could well be highlighted once you look at traffic volumes and sort of speeds at that location of the school crossing patrol. They may say you need to look at a more controlled environment for a safe crossing point for children.
Great. Thank you. Thank you both.
Thank you, John. Thank you, Chris. Thanks, Chris. I've received no applications to speak either in objection or support of the application. So I will now take questions from members of the committee. And first up is Councillor Heath Davis.
Thank you, Chair. It's just to let you know us all. My wife works in the school. It's just to let you know us all.
Oh, right.
Is that any interference with myself then? Because obviously I don't work there.
Yeah, Democratic Services will send you an online form, Heath, okay? Okay. Second is Councillor Tim Bowen.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. it's not a question, it's a comment. I'm so glad that we've learned the lesson from Kevin Syson regarding the lighting, and that we've looked into this more rigorously, and I will be in support of this application.
Okay, thank you, Tim. Councillor Gareth Rice.
Thank you, Chair. Just a quick observation, Saul, on accuracy. The consultees, again, be wrong of me not to point it out. Southwest Wales Fire and Rescue, there is no such thing. It's either South Wales or Mid and West. Thank you.
Okay.
I will give my officers an appropriate slap when I speak to them and draw it to their attention, Councillor Rice.
Yeah. Okay. I see no other questions. So at this time now, I'd like to remind members to stay online after the meeting closes, because there will be a briefing of Nylwen on survey, maybe? Survey, yeah. Okay. Would the local ward member like to?
No, I'm just hopeful that all members support this, as we desperately need it. Thank you.
Thank you. Now moving on to the recommendation and conditions, which start on page 119 of the report, and again this application is recommended for approval. Could I have a proposal and seconder to consider the recommendation? Question. Thank you, Tim. Seconder?
I second.
Thank you. Councillor Robbie, thank you very much. Matthew, could you please ask each member if they have been present for the whole of the item and now they wish to vote? And could you then confirm the decision, please?
Thanks, Chair. If I could start, Councillor Harold Aubrey, have you been present the whole item and how do you wish to vote?
Yes, and I support the recommendation.
Thank you. Councillor Tim Bowen.
Yes, and in support.
Thank you. Councillor Heath Davis.
Yes, and I support if I'm allowed to, because I've informed you. Yes.
Yeah. Councillor Rosalind Davis, please.
I have been present for the whole item and I vote in favour of the recommendation. Diolch yn fawr.
Thank you. Councillor James Henton, can I confirm you've been present the whole item and how you wish to vote?
Yeah, present and support.
Thank you. Councillor Jeff Jones.
Yes, I've been present and support.
Councillor Carl Jones.
Present throughout and support.
Councillor Dennis Kilo, please.
Yes, I'll be present for the whole meeting and I support.
Thank you. Councillor Gareth Rice.
Present throughout and support.
Thank you. And lastly, Councillor Sarah Thomas, please.
I have been present throughout and I support the recommendation.
Thank you, Chair. I confirm that's 10 votes from 10 in favour of the recommendation.
Thank you, Matthew. So now we move on to section B of the agenda, which is matters for information. Agenda items 7, 8 and 9 detail the appeals determined, appeals received and delegated decisions from the timeframe indicated in the circulated report. As Chair, I can confirm that we note the information contained within these reports. Agenda item 10, urgent items. We have no urgent items today. So end of the meeting. There are no further items, so that is the business for today. Thank you all for attendance. Please stay on for the briefing with Nylwen.